All right. This is the 76th episode of the Runnin My Mouth podcast. I am your I don't know, what am I today? What am I today? I'm your apprehensive host, Aaron, and allow me to run my mouth for a little bit. And I'm apprehensive because it is currently, as I'm recording this, August the 1st. It's Saturday, not Sunday, because there is a show on Sunday that I would like to go to, and hopefully I do end up actually going to it, because there's a show last night that I wanted to go to, but then, 6:59 rolled around, and I was laying on my couch, and I was like, you know what? I could just clean instead, and that's what I ended up doing last night. I ended up cleaning. Not fully, because I think my vacuum is dying on me, which is really unfortunate because, first of all, it's not that old, but also because it was low-key kind of expensive. It's a cordless stick vacuum. I forgot how much I paid for it, but I want to say maybe $175, which is that expensive? For me, it is, I feel like. And I think maybe it's already been established that I perhaps feel some apprehension about spending money on large amounts at once, really. That's the thing. Because I feel like if I spend $175 on multiple items, it feels a lot different than spending $175 on one item. Is this thing even still for sale? Why can't I find it? Here we go. Is this the same one? Yeah, it is. Well, here it's retailing for $193, but it's on sale for $119. I don't want to buy a new one though, and I'm wondering if there are replacement parts, because I was trying to vacuum last night, and first of all, this is totally on me. Oh wait, there are parts. Oh wait, there are. Stop doing the pop-ups. Go away. Can I buy this separately? I can! Wait, hold on. That's miniature. No, I need the full-size one. Here we go. Yeah, it's like $40. Shoot, that's what I might end up doing. Because it's the brush or the floor part of the vac. I'm so glad these are sold separately. Oh my god, okay. Crash out averted. I might not have to buy a whole new vacuum, because I really didn't want to do that, and it's only $40. But also I'm thinking maybe I can fix it, but also I don't really know. Anyways, I was inspecting it, and I guess this is on me for not maintaining my items, but I got this vacuum. I think I bought it as like a Christmas, or not Christmas, but a Christmas or birthday gift for myself. I can't remember. It had to be more than a year ago, because I had it at my old apartment for sure. And I look at the brush head part, and it is just, I had to sacrifice a pair of my sewing scissors to cut my hair off of the rolling brush. So yeah, I should probably maintain my things a little bit better. But the good news is, if I did really need to replace it, I can, and it's only $40, which I don't know if that's a lot or not, but it's certainly less than buying a whole new vacuum. That part I know for sure. So yeah, speaking of crash out moments, I had one earlier this week, which, I've known that this has been coming for some time now. When was this actually? Yeah, it was earlier this week. So obviously on, what was it, July 1st? I took out student loans to go to school. I feel like that shouldn't be too terribly surprising. I didn't really get that many scholarships, because I didn't really apply for that many when I was in high school. I did not have the foresight to know that this might potentially be a problem at any point in the future. But yeah, I had some private loans and I had some federal ones. Thankfully, my parents are taking care of the private ones, so I could be in a much worse off position than I currently am, which it hasn't even happened yet. But basically, the SAVE Act, which I was previously using for my federal student loans, that allowed me to pay $15 a month, and that was it. And that only lasted like a few months, because also student loans were like in forbearance for a lot of people because of COVID for like a really long time. So even if when I was making payments on them, it only lasted like a few months. And then of course that man got in office and was like, hey, that thing that helps a lot of people pay off their student loans, we're not doing that anymore. Sorry, that's woke garbage. So now, people who graduated during COVID, or maybe a little bit before COVID, or maybe a little bit after COVID, who are utilizing the SAVE plan because the job market is horrendous right now. Either it's really hard to find a job in your selected field, or you are employed, maybe it's not in your field, you're underemployed, or the fields that you are in just don't pay that much. Yeah, we're getting rid of that. So I had applied to consolidate my loans because, we got the messaging, like the big pop-up on the student aid website. It was like, hey, this is going away July 1st. Like, you got to figure something out because your monthly payment might be real high. So I consolidated my loans. Now it's just the two, unsubsidized and subsidized, that are all together. And so I got an email, far too early in the morning, by the way. I want to say it was like, when was that? Where's the email? Because I have my email open right now. It was like, loan repayment details. And this is at 8:27 in the morning. I had just gotten out of the shower that Tuesday, this last Tuesday. And I see this and I'm like, oh, because, I had been getting all these letters and correspondences back and forth about my consolidation, I thought. And okay, this one is also on me because when I applied to consolidate my loans, I thought I was applying to do that and getting a different payment plan applied to that as well. But no, that was not what happened. I misled myself, I believe. And so, it's like, oh, view your new repayment schedule. So I'm looking and I see a couple things. Number one, it goes out of forbearance and my payments start in September. And then I look and it's $260 a month, which is not what I was expecting to pay at all. From the calculator that they had on the website, it was supposed to be at maximum like 111 for, what is it, the IDR plan, income driven repayment. So I'm like, oh, so that got rejected. Now it's 260. And it's like, that's kind of a lot, I'm not a stringent budgeter. Perhaps I should be. It could probably help me out a lot. But a couple months back I went through, my pay and my expenses and stuff, and I am making just enough. I am making just enough, and that is including savings. Now, if I just like stopped automatically saving money, like obviously I would have more to like throw around, maybe which I mean, I'm not even really putting that much into my retirement. It's like $60 a paycheck, which I get it. Over time that adds up, but also in theory, because over time that adds up, it's supposed to add up in my retirement account that I have. And also my employer is matching it. So it's more like $120, not a month, a paycheck. So that's, hold on. I didn't do too great at, that's about $240 in my retirement. So like if I just never put anything in my retirement, like sure, yeah, I could afford to do that. But no, I want to not screw myself in the future. Which I suppose that could be applied to my high school self. Like maybe I should have applied for more scholarships so I didn't screw myself in the future. That's sort of kind of what is going on. Well, okay, I'm not 100% being screwed. I mean, it was all kind of a misunderstanding because, I've been getting stuff about the consolidation process. It's been consolidated. Now that it has been consolidated, they're like, hey, here's your new repayment schedule. You got however many payments or 260, and that's supposed to end in like 2030, whenever. But as it turned out, I just needed to go and actually apply for the IDR plan, and that would have fixed that. So, I mean, I don't think it's gone through yet. I am going to check. I mean, I only did this earlier this week, so I would be surprised if this has gone through at all. But I mean, I got like a month ish. I mean, my forbearance ends on the 9th of September. So, it's yeah. I don't know, let me see. Maybe it's in here. Maybe it isn't. Expand. What is this? Okay, no. It has not been applied yet. All right. So yeah, I'm just waiting for that to go through. I mean, obviously another expense isn't great, but what can you do, And it's kind of crazy because I was kind of talking to my parents about this, not really in detail because it was early in the morning and I was really frustrated. But there is a point in time when I was in college, and when I was in college, I guess sort of memory hold all of this, but I was worried about money pretty much the entire time I was there. Like, I knew exactly how much this was costing, and I was frequently cognizant of the amount of money that was going into my schooling. I had some scholarships. I didn't have no scholarships. I had a couple, not enough to, really cover anything. And I also did work study. But what was crazy was, well, number one, my work study job when I was in school was in the financial aid office at Belhaven University, and my whole job was to fold letters and stuff them into envelopes, and I did that for like 1.5 to 3 hours a day, 4 days a week. I think 11 hours a week, and I got paid $8 an hour. Of course, I never saw any of that money because it went to my tuition, aside from the one semester, and this is a summer semester, so I kind of wasn't doing it. I was getting paid to not do anything. I don't even know how I was even able to get that, but anyways, the whole reason I even have a car now is because I had to get one because I got a work study job over the summer in the film department at Belhaven. And I did get paid a little bit from that. It was maybe like $130 every other week. Really not that much money, if I'm being honest. And if I was smart, if I was enterprising, then perhaps I would have saved that and, applied that to my next semester's tuition because I wasn't taking summer classes. So I mean, I don't really know what I spent that money on. I didn't just blow it, but again, it wasn't really that much money. I was living with my aunt rent free at the time, which again, very fortunate. And I mean, I was paying for my own groceries while I was there, but that was pretty much it. And groceries are cheap back then. This is 2019. So, we didn't have the problems we have now at the grocery store that we had then. I was surely living high on the hog, as they say. I truly don't know what I spent that money on. I mean, again, it was probably just living expenses. Although I do remember there was a point in time, because my aunt lives out in the country, they had to manually well, they still do because they still live there, manually get their gas refilled. And there was a period of time for a month, which, keep in mind, I was only there for 2 months, maybe 2.5 months. So for a month out of the 2.5 months I was there, they didn't have any gas. So they didn't have any hot water. They didn't have any gas for their stove because they had a gas stove. So I was truly thugging it out, actually, now that I remember. And I had to eat out all the time. And I kind of didn't like that, because number one, it was kind of expensive. And number two, sometimes maybe I did want to, eat something other than whatever can be microwaved. Maybe I did want to use the stove. It took them a really long time to get that gas refilled. Oh, man. Yeah. This weekend has consisted of me remembering things that I forgot about. I've, for whatever reason, this whole entire month of, I guess, previously July, I've just been remembering. This is the remembering age. We're in the remembering times. And yeah, I did kind of sort of totally forget about that. But anyways, all that to say, sure would be nice if I could only pay $15 a month on my student loans, but alas, that man is in office, and therefore everyone must suffer. We all have to suffer. Obviously, if I just thugged it out a little bit more, stayed at my last job for 10 years, which unconscionable because let's see, I started working there at 2021, 2031. Oh, God, 10 years without any kind of pay rise, but because it was a nonprofit, which I think it had to be certain qualifying nonprofits. Now that I think about it, I don't think it was just any nonprofit, but, if I could have just stuck it out suffering for 10 years, God, I could have gotten my loans forgiven, or I don't know, go back to school, get a teaching license, and teach in Mississippi of all places. I could do that, get my loans forgiven, get a freaking down payment on a house, could do that too, But honestly, I don't think I'm at the point in time where I'm like, okay, I need to make such a giant 360 just to secure my financial future, to become a teacher, just to get $7,000 from the state of Mississippi, which I think it might be 10,000. I don't know how much it is. Apparently it doesn't get used that much. By the way, if you're a teacher in the state of Mississippi, the state will give you X amount of dollars for a down payment on a house, which is honestly a sweet deal if you can get it. That is how one of my friends bought a house. Honestly, pretty legit. I would hope that most states have that program. But also, if you're a teacher, you can get your federal student loans forgiven. But being a teacher in this state, in this political climate, just at all, I don't like kids like that, by the way. It's a miracle that I was even working at my last job, which, I didn't really have that much interactions with our students, but I truly did need a job, because if I just don't like kids that much. I truly don't. And when you say that, people, they sometimes think you're heartless, because, who couldn't like children? But, hey, I don't know, maybe I just am. Maybe, have you ever stopped to consider that perhaps I just am? I feel like after, I can tolerate them after the age of, 10. Anything before that, I just, it's too much. Anyways, that wasn't even on my list, but to go back to why I am apprehensive, I posted about this on my private stories, which most people aren't on, therefore they wouldn't have seen it. But I feel like, and I do have some data, some data points to back this up, but I feel like every year around, it's not every year, it's been every year for the past 4 years around, I guess 3, because 21, no, not 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, no, that is 4 years. I can't count. Since 2022, did I say, whatever, man. Every year since 2022, it's around September, around my birthday specifically, which is very lame and very not nice. I just have something whack and frustrating happen to me that sort of sullies the moment that should be really nice for me. So last year wasn't really a thing that happened. It was just, I went to Chicago for my birthday last year, which in theory would have been a whole lot of fun. I talk about it on the podcast. What the heck is the name? I know the name of the episode. It's Contemplations on the Wheel, I think. Hold on. Okay, no. This is before I moved. No, it isn't. Maybe? What the heck is the name of this freaking... Okay, hold on. Just look at the date. How about that? Yeah. Episode 54, Contemplations on the Wheel, is where I talk about being in Chicago for my birthday. And, it was nice. It was fun. But I don't know if this is an as I get older kind of thing, or just, I don't know, maybe I was just never like this. Or maybe I was just always like this, and I just never considered it. But I perhaps don't want to spend big life moments by myself. That's really all there is to it. And like I said, being in Chicago, it was a lot of fun. Obviously, love going to the Frank Lloyd Wright House. Love just walking around the city, especially at night. That was pretty great. Love the train. Duh. Love that down. Just love the whole vibes of it all. But, it's one thing to do all that, and it's another thing to do all that alone. What the heck? Hold on. I'm looking Okay, that one makes sense. Why does this episode have so many views? Am I tweaking? Maybe I'm not. I don't know. That's interesting. Episode, okay. That caught me way off guard. Chat, is this real? I don't know. Okay. That just derailed everything. One of my episodes has like a randomly high number of views on YouTube, and I'm not really sure why, especially based on what I talk about. But also at the same time, I don't know. Sometimes I don't know. Hold on, I feel like I want to investigate now. But also, I mean, okay, whatever. All that aside, that took me way out. Good God. What was I even talking about? Oh, 2025's moment, which wasn't a moment, was just me being in Chicago alone and kind of being a little bit sad about it. 2024, that one's definitely more pinpointable, because around that time there were some changes happening at my job where I went from doing one thing to doing another thing that I kind of really didn't like. And it was at that point where I was like, okay, I don't know how long this is going to last. I don't really want to be doing this. I don't know when I'm going to be back doing what I was before, which, I mean, whatever, I'll just say it. One of the producers, not one of, they were the only producer. The producer for two of the shows that we have on my news channel left. And because I had, for whatever reason, just somehow ended up being like really involved with the shows, unintentionally. I didn't exactly set out to do that. But because I was involved for the shows, I ended up being the de facto, backup person. And the first time I had to do that, by the way, I was pretty much thrown in completely blind. So there's this program, and I don't really know how to describe it to people who aren't in like the news, but there's this program called ENPS. It's made by AP, the news organization. ENPS, I mean, hold on. We can just look it up together. ENPS. Is it going to show up when I go to images? Okay, yes. So if you go to like the first thing, it's basically, it looks like this big Excel spreadsheet, and I truly don't know how it works because I was never taught how it works beyond being able to use it to run a show and have a show be on TV. Like, that is the extent of my knowledge. It's been a really long time, but I could probably stack a show still. It's been well over a year, but I could still probably stack a show like from scratch, and I would have to do that every single day for like 3 months. It really wasn't that long in the grand scheme of things, but it felt like forever. And I was basically given a crash course because the producer for that show like got sick one day, and I go to work and they're like, hey, so-and-so is sick. We need you to produce. And I'm like, huh? What are you talking about? So I was given a crash course that day, and I put on the show, and I guess it went on really well. I can't really remember. And it was like, yeah, it was so stressful. Which by the way, this has remained on my desk for far too long. This is my old Fitbit. It is broken. The front fell off. Hello. And I just never bothered to buy another one because I don't really want a smartwatch like that. This is a gift. A sort of passive-aggressive gift from my parents in the hopes that I would one day become more active. It didn't really work out. I mean, pun intended, I guess. But anyways, I had this for a while. This was back when I was still wearing this, which I really need to get rid of. Why do I still have this? There's no reason for me to have this broken thing just sitting on my desk, literally. Anyways, back when I was still wearing this, when I would be producing the shows, I could see my heart rate spiking. Like, that was how much it stressed me out. And I was like, I can't do this forever. Like, this is too much. And, the type of show that I was doing was a lot different from a regular newscast. Like, a regular newscast, that's whatever. Very formulaic. I probably could do that if it really came down to it. I still would enjoy it because, I like doing the stuff that I do now, which is making commercials. It's a lot more creative than producing a show. Like, okay, I feel like the word producer does kind of get tossed around a little bit. People play fast and loose with the word producer. It kind of doesn't mean anything. Like, what does a producer do? I don't know. They produce results. But, basically, what I was doing was not directing, because that is kind of a different job. But basically, I was directing, you know, a lifestyle show. And given that it was, first of all, still kind of new, not 100% new, but still kind of new, it was still kind of Wild West. There was kind of a formula, and I did try to stick to the formula. But something that I did end up learning about myself, which I sort of knew this about myself, but it really came out during those 3 months, is that I kind of am a control freak. I really need things to go a specific way. And if they don't, then it frustrates me, especially with something that is supposed to be formulaic. Certain things, always happen the same way. So, like, yeah, I want them to happen the way they always happen. And if we deviate from that, well, I feel like now you're putting more work on me, because now I have to figure this out. Actually, it might have only been like one or two shows that we had that were live and on location in a certain place. And those were the worst. I mean, they ended up being fine, but it was, again, heart rate spiking. And also, my heart just wasn't in it. And I was always getting told, like, oh, you're so good at this. You're so skilled at this. Like, you could do this, like, as a career. And it's like, I don't want to. I went to film school. I don't want to do this, okay? I want to make little movies, all right? I want to write. First of all, hold on. Beyond all of that, I just want to write. Like, how did I get suckered into all of this? Like, press pause, time out. And so I think they were saying that maybe to just, like, encourage me, because I feel like my displeasure with first of all, it's not I feel like. My displeasure with the situation, I made known to everyone, because I really didn't want to be in a situation that I was in, like, in my last job, where everything was just, like, happening, and I just kind of had to deal with it. And I mean, yeah, I was just kind of dealing with it at the time, but I didn't want to just deal with it. Like, I'll deal with it, but I'll let you know that I don't really like dealing with it. And something that one of my coworkers had said to my boss at the time that I thought was really astute and true, was that she said to them, it's really hard to get Erin to do something she doesn't want to do. And that's true. It really is. And I mean, on the one hand, it wasn't that hard to get me to produce the shows, even though I didn't want to do it, but also at the same time, like, somebody had to. And it just so happened that I was the next person who would be able to do that. But, anything extra, I wasn't into, like, whatsoever. So it was like, yeah. What did I learn from that saga? I mean, I guess I learned that this is something that I could do, and I also learned that I don't like doing it. So, I guess I learned that. Live television production probably isn't in the cards for, well, okay, I guess it really depends. But, given that these shows were basically just, like, big infomercials, that really did turn me off from kind of enjoying it as much as I perhaps could have if it weren't that, so anyways, that was the 2024 moment. The 2023 moment, we don't have to harp on that. I feel like there's a lot out there already that goes into my 2023 evil moment in August, September. So it's like, that's already out there. We can scoot on past that. We really don't have to rehash that. It's truly already out there. And I'm trying to think, my 2022 moment, that one was a little bit more nebulous for me. At first, I thought it did start in 2023, but then I remembered. Well, I didn't remember. I forgot. That was kind of the whole thing, is that I forgot. But something about me is that I have been a more or less lifelong journaler. Like, I started keeping a journal of like my daily happenings and goings on since I was like in the second grade. My mom gave both me and my brother these little notebooks that had like the ribbon tabs in them, and my brother, I think, just like destroyed his, but I kept mine, and mine was obviously pink because I'm a girl. Which is really interesting because, my mom's in a gang. It's really hard to talk about the street gang known as Delta Sigma Theta Incorporated. I think that's what it is. Yeah, it's incorporated. My mom's in a gang, also known as a D9 sorority. So, and it really does make sense because they have the hand signs, they have the shouts, they have the territories, they have the colors, and they have the ops. Like, it's all there, and the Delta's main ops are the AKAs, and the AKA's colors are pink and green, which I think it's really funny anytime I see an object that isn't specifically AKA branded, but is that specific pink and green, because most people aren't putting that shade of pink and green together. I'm just gonna say it. It's not ugly, but it's very distinct, and I could see like, oh, this object or this, garment is specifically made for AKAs, because who else is putting that shade of pink and green together? But anyways, because of that, my mom really resisted getting me anything pink. I wasn't like a super pink girl when I was, a child, so it ended up working out anyways. But either way, it was mildly surprising that she did get me a little pink notebook. So yeah, anyways, I got that when I was in second grade, and I started writing in it as a journal. And for a really long time, one of the main gifts that people, and this is mostly just like family members, would get me would be blank journals and notebooks. And like, slay, I love a good notebook. So, I kept them and I started writing in them. I have one from the second grade. I have a couple from elementary school. I know one starts in the fourth or fifth grade, and I got it at the Scholastic Book Fair, and I really wanted it because it was one of those diaries that had a lock on it, and it came with a little key, and I thought, oh, this is going to be so safe and secure. I, of course, end up losing the key. My dad had to buy another similar journal with a lock, but it used the same key, so I was able to use that one. I remember writing in that all the way up until the fifth grade, or no, I had two separate ones, but I think they were like separate grades. Because I had one, and I think it might have been that second one that my dad got, because I lost the key to the other one, that I did use specifically in the sixth grade, and I would get in trouble for writing in it during class. No, I got in trouble for writing in it in my fifth grade history class. And the teacher, who was like this old so-and-so that nobody liked, threatened to take it from me. And yeah, I got in trouble for reading during math class in the sixth grade. So yeah, that's the kind of kid that I was. I was getting in trouble for writing and reading in inopportune times at class, which I feel like informs a lot about me. It tracks. Like, it makes sense, and then when I was in high school, I had this like red spiral bound notebook that I used definitely my ninth grade year, maybe also my 10th grade year. I'm not too sure about my 11th grade year. And then in college, that was when I was the most consistent with my journaling. I don't have these journals currently. I have one of them, but I don't have the other ones. But when I toured Belhaven for the first time, I went to the bookstore, and this is before the bookstore got bought by Barnes & Noble, which happened during my time there, and it was honestly like the worst change ever, because our textbooks used to be cheap. Like, our textbooks were like, I would see people online complaining about textbook prices, and I was like, can't relate. My textbooks are so cheap. And then they sold out to Barnes & Noble, and then the textbooks became expensive. So it's like, what the heck, man? What the heck, Belhaven? I feel like they should go back to having an independent bookstore, but there's probably, whatever. I'm not going to get into it. Anyways, toured the school, saw this purple notebook in the bookstore, and I was like, I want that. And my mom bought it for me, along with this whiteboard calendar that I still have and I still use. I use it all throughout college, and I mean, I guess currently all throughout my adult life. It's been in various places in my apartment. My first apartment, it was on my refrigerator door, because I was like, for whatever reason, my refrigerator was like central in my first apartment, and then whatever, it doesn't matter. It's currently in my bedroom, and I do need to change it because it is August 1st. But anyways, got that notebook, and then when freshman year started, I wrote in that, I want to say, almost every night. And then I got this different notebook that I can't remember where I got it from, wrote in that every night. And then I got a third notebook, which I currently have. It's a bigger, like 8x10 yellow notebook. Honestly, really nice. Wrote in that a little bit up until when I graduated. And honestly, I really need to get those back, I feel like. I feel like I need to be in possession of my journals, you know? Because I really don't have them. I only have this one. But it really would be a glimpse into my psyche of what I was going through at the time. And given that it was college, I was going through a lot pretty much at all times. So, you know, and also, I mean, at all other points in my life, really. It's interesting to think about. Anyways, I actually read through my 6th grade journal when I was at home. I want to say last Christmas, because that was the last time I was at home. And number one, first of all, my handwriting used to be so good. What the heck happened? Like, I feel like I need to start reteaching myself how to write, because like my handwriting is just garbage. Like it's frustratingly bad. Like my handwriting used to be so good. Like, is this a sign of cognitive decline? Like, was my brain the biggest when I was in the 6th grade? Like, what's going on? I truly don't know. Like, my handwriting has just gone down. Anyways, aside from that, again, a lot of stuff that, you know, I wrote it down because it happened, and then time passes and then I forget. But, you know, journals are a way of remembering, especially if you're just like a forgetful person, which I am, for better or worse. I am a forgetful person. So it's like, yeah, it is really essential that I have all this. Anyways, after that, I started doing my journals on my computer Dora, because again, frustratingly bad handwriting. And I felt like my mind was going faster than my hand could go. So it's like, I'm a pretty fast typer. I'm a fast typist, okay? You know, attribute that to years of playing RuneScape and trying to convince people not to kill you in the wilderness. So, you know, I'm a pretty fast typer, and I feel like my typing speed is, you know, on par with my thinking speed. So I feel like that's a little bit better for me. So I've been using Microsoft OneNote for the past, since 2023 or something? Hold on. It doesn't matter. Since 2023 at least. And then I also have the last like paper journal that I tried to do, which is a spiral bound notebook that I bought, which is just like a different colorway from the notebook that I use for, you know, taking notes during meetings at my last job, which, you know, if ever there was what do you call it? Why did I want to think of dispensation? That's not the word. Not dissertation either. Not disposition. Oh my god, maybe my cognitive is declining. Oh my god. What is the word? Deposition. It's deposition. If ever there was a deposition, you know, what can I say? I'm a great note keeper. I got all the notes. I still, for whatever reason, haven't thrown anything away from my last job, like documents and stuff that I was given. I don't have any of my emails because, you know, I don't have access to the email anymore. But yeah, if ever there was a time where I would have to be deposed, I have the receipts. But anyways, when would that happen? I don't know. But yeah, I was looking through my journal that I kept, which very coincidentally started in September 2022, the final paper one that I had. And, you know, it has some things that was going on during that time that I sort of forgot because, you know, and I talked about this, I think, a little bit in the last episode, but I also don't know. I can't remember. Either way, I've talked about it somewhere, um, where I was, a little frustrated at the fact that um, I would once again be spending my birthday alone when the option not to should have been accessible to me. But something that I had forgot, which I mean, whatever, I don't care, I'll get into it. Something that I had forgotten. My former podcast co-host was like, "Oh, if you buy the ticket, then yeah, I'll go." I buy the ticket, he doesn't go, and it's on my birthday, which I feel like huge slap in the face. Something that I forgot about was that a couple weeks after that, because the entry was from September 10th. Obviously, my birthday's well, maybe it's not obvious. Maybe you don't know. My birthday is September 2nd. It's on a Wednesday this year, which is kind of lame. And it looks like I will be working during my birthday this year, which is, again, kind of lame. But you do what you can. You really, that's all you can do, is what you can. Was I saying? Oh, the injury is from September 10th. So it's like a week and a half after. And apparently he ended up telling me that he was going to be out of town because it was his mom's birthday coming up, and he wanted to go to a concert with her. Or she wanted to go to a concert with him. Which, on some level, I get it. Moms, they do occasionally trump other people. So it's like, whatever. But also, I had forgotten about that for, 4 years? And remembering that was like, huh. I feel like at the time it felt extra offensive, but that's whatever. And then there was another detail that I had forgotten about. I say former podcast co-host. I never really say what that podcast was called. I don't know why I never said it. I wasn't exactly trying to hide the fact. But previous to this podcast, I had one with my co-host called the Not Just Aaron podcast. And it's called Not Just Aaron because my main YouTube channel is It's Just Aaron. And so I, for whatever reason, because clearly these days I'm killing it on my own, but back then I was like, I don't think I could have a podcast unless I had a co-host because I just feel like I'm not that funny on my own. Which I mean, I feel like this podcast, it's not comedy, so it kind of don't matter anyway. It's more music focused, which I promise we're going to get to the music pretty soon. But like, what was I saying? Anyways, started that was like, well, I mean, I do want to check. It's been a while, but I'm not even logged into that account anymore. Well, let me try to find it. Honestly, it doesn't matter when it started. I feel like I'm getting hung up on details that doesn't truly matter. But it started at some point after I moved back here in like 2022, I think early 2022. And there was an episode where I talked about, and this is gonna, require some, why are my nails breaking? That's so lame. Gonna require some background. So at my last job, we had this web series that we were doing that I was working very diligently on, but only like a few episodes ever ended up being published, despite the fact that I had way more that were completed, but we move. One of the guests for that one, which was recorded prior to me working there, they had like this whole backlog that I went through very quickly because I am a fast editor and I'm really good at what I do. Thank you very much. The guest was a history professor at one of the local universities here, and he was talking about, certain, I actually can't really remember, but I do know it was about certain pivotal moments in civil rights history here in the state of Mississippi. And he, of course, brings up Emmett Till, which is, of course, a really big moment in civil rights history here in the state of Mississippi. And I actually have some, which I don't really want to rehash it, but I don't want to force you guys to listen to that episode of the podcast, even though I re-listened to it last night just to get an idea of what it was like, and it was way worse than I remember. Like, holy cow. But, if you don't know the story of Emmett Till, look it up. I'm not about to tell you. But I remember learning about this as a sixth grader in Alabama. And I was a very, I don't want to say childish child. I was just, I don't know. I felt like I was maybe not behind my peers, but I was still very kid-like. at 11 years old. You know, I think at that point I still slept with stuffed animals. I was still just like a teeny weeny bit scared of the dark. I thought ghosts were still real. You know, I was very much a child and I was easily frightened by things. Like, it did not take much to scare me. And so imagine being a kid like that, learning about Emmett Till at like 11 years old, you know, and we were, of course, shown the picture um, in all detail. We watched this documentary, this like TV documentary in that history class. You know, it went through everything. And that night, you know, I got home, I was just terrified. I think that might have been the last class of the day. Yeah, sixth grade history. My teacher's name was Miss Lucy. I don't dislike my teacher for this. I think it really was just kind of an unfortunate situation all around. I think from what I remember, my parents did get kind of mad at my teacher for that. And I wasn't the only one in my class or in my grade who had that reaction that I had, which I will get into. Um, and it's like, you know, I get home that day and I cannot sleep. I just can't sleep at all. Like, I was just so terrified. I could not fall asleep. I was like crying. I was just like just terrified because I'm thinking in my child logic brain, like, okay, you know, if that can happen to Emmett Till, it can happen to me. Like, somebody is gonna come break into my house, steal me out of my bed, beat the crap out of me to death, you know, and sink me in the Alabama River. And then, you know, my mom won't be able to identify me. Because I don't wear a ring, which is how Emmett Till was identified, because he was still wearing the ring that his mom gave him, right? And so, you know, I can't remember how exactly this played out. I don't know if my dad heard me crying or if I went to my dad crying, but either way, I was crying. My dad found out in some way. I told him what happened. He was thankfully really chill about it, which I don't know why he wouldn't be. Anyways, but I remember that night he drove me to Walmart at like 9 o'clock at night, and it was so crazy because back then, you know, I was still getting my hair pressed, and I wore like, it wasn't a do-rag, but it was like one of those wave caps that are like meant for men. I wore those to bed every night, and we roll up to the Walmart, and I'm still wearing it. And we go and we pick out a lamp. It's this like purple LED lamp at Walmart, which I do still have. It's still in my bedroom. It no longer works, but it is still there. In my bedroom back home, not here. And I had to sleep with that lamp on for about a week. And you know that it did a lot to young me. And looking back on it, I can confidently say that it did traumatize me, because what ended up happening at my old job back in 2022 was that, you know, I was going through the footage that they had collected in like the B-roll and the you know, old archival pictures and stuff that they had collected for this particular interview. And I was trying to find stuff to insert, you know, as B-roll. And I do remember it was at the very end of the list. It was the picture. Actually, I don't think it was the picture. It was just one of the pictures. There's a lot of pictures taken. There's like apparently a few different angles. There is the picture. And, you know, that I see that and I'm like, whoa, you know, that was the first time that I'd seen that in a really long time. And in the episode, which I mean, I didn't forget about watching the movie, Judas and the Black Messiah, at the end of the movie, this is like right before they kill Fred Hampton, he has a newspaper, and it has like the picture in it. But during that time, and I saw it in theaters when it came out, but which it was a good movie, but unfortunately for that reason, I can't watch it again. Yeah, that was a good movie. It's really unfortunate that I can't watch it again, because I kind of do want to watch it again, but also at the same time, I can't. But during that time, I like look away in time, so like I don't really get a full like look at it. But for whatever reason, at that point, I did, and I had a really strong reaction to it. Like, I had to like step away from my desk and like go into the bathroom, and I cried for what felt like 30 minutes. I don't think it was 30 minutes. It probably would have been like 15, but it felt like a really long time that I was sitting in a bathroom stall, literally rocking back and forth crying. again, feeling like I did when I was 11 years old. And obviously, I couldn't just like brush it off or anything, because I had been sobbing for an extended period of time in the bathroom. First of all, I'm surprised nobody noticed that I was gone, but also there weren't that many people in our office. So it's like, also, I don't know. Anyways, so I had to, eventually gather myself and leave the bathroom, and I had to tell my boss, like, hey, this is what just happened. Like, I need a minute. And thankfully my female boss was very chill about it. But something that did really, like, tremendously piss me off. Sorry, I had to take a sip break. Something that tremendously pissed me off at the time. And then of course, I had to like go out to my car and like call both my parents and tell them like I basically just had a breakdown at work. And I remember my dad was again way more chill about it than my mom was, because my dad also has some similar trauma about racial violence in his youth. And something that I'd forgotten about until I had re-listened to that episode was that when I was on the phone with my dad that day, he told me that he had a recurring nightmare about the Klan like attacking his neighborhood when he was a kid. I never known about that until that time, and I had forgotten about it until last night. Like, holy crap. Like, that's why that particular episode of that podcast is called, well, half of the episode title is generational trauma, because, that is trauma that is passed down from generation to generation. Like, each generation has their own racial violence. Each generation of Black people, I should say, has their own racial violence based trauma that affects them. And I feel like, okay, I think people are talking about it, but I feel like more people have that than they perhaps realize. And I talk about this a little bit more in my video essay, I Am My Ancestors' Wildest Dreams, but, it wasn't even just hearing about stuff for my dad in his youth. Like, my dad grew up in Mobile, Alabama in like the 70s and 80s, and the Klan was like legit doing stuff down there. One of the last lynchings in Alabama by the Klan, my dad was in high school when that happened, and it was a street over from his high school. So it's like, that's pretty direct, and anyways, I go through that whole story on that episode, and I talk about my dad, telling me what he did. And my co-host had not, I guess, learned about the story of Emmett Till. I don't know how much they teach about it in Mississippi, because I know, obviously standards for history are different between the states. If I learned about this in Alabama, something that didn't even happen in Alabama, I would have assumed people would have learned about it in Mississippi. I don't know. But also, if you went through the public school system in Mississippi in the 2000s, did you learn about Emmett Till, and how much detail did they go in? I would kind of like to know, because I don't know like how much it's in the curriculum here, because it is Mississippi. We are making strides and things with like literacy rates, but it is still Mississippi. I don't know what to say. But yeah, let me know, because I do kind of want to know, because my co-host went to school here in Mississippi, but he also went to a private school. Like in the it was a weird setup. Like, it was kind of a strange setup for a private school. And I don't want to say what it is, because do I really care about protecting this guy's privacy at this point in my life? Not really, but I'm still not going to say it. But I feel like there are some people who know about this particular school, and it's like, yeah, it does kind of seem like a strange setup for a school, but also maybe not. I don't know, man. Listen, I truly don't. But he, bearing in mind that me talking about this is the first time in his recollection that he's learning about it, after I tell him all of that, after I tell him what happened to me when I was in the 6th grade, and after I tell him what happened to me, at that point in time recently, in my adulthood, he proceeds to say, well, I try to assume the best in people. Maybe we should give Carolyn Bryant the benefit of the doubt. And then I give the most minimal pushback to that. And it's like, he gets mad at me for that. And it's still on the internet. Like, it's out there. It's episode 26. The episode is called Fake Lords and Generational Trauma of the Not Just Aaron podcast. If you want to listen to it, I started talking about it at around the 1 hour mark. But it's like, what the heck? You know, obviously I wasn't very pleased with that statement when it happened. But looking back on it, it's like, how on earth was I friends with this guy? Because, like, I mean, like, how can you hear all of that I just said and be like, oh, you know, maybe we should give Carolyn Bryant the benefit of the doubt. So it's like, anyway, that definitely pissed me off to the highest positivity. That wasn't even like the thing. The thing was my birthday. That was just like secondary to all of that. So yeah, and also there's a part 2 to this. There's a part 2 to my Emmett Till trauma. So I don't think I've talked about this on the podcast. I can't really remember if I did, because this happened a while ago. I think it's been literally 2 years since this has happened. But when would this have been? I truly don't think I talked about it, but I mean, I told people a lot. Like, I guess did I even tell my mom about? I can't even remember if I told people about this, but basically, this was a couple of Januaries ago. There was a point in time where I would just be sent off on shoot. Well, actually, this still happens. It's not a point in time. This is just my reality. But sometimes I would be sent off on shoots with, like, I wouldn't say no notice. It wasn't no notice, but it was like a couple days notice. And so, you know, and I wouldn't be the primary person on the shoot. I would just be assisting on it. This is at my current job. And so one day I was told, like, hey, you need to go with so-and-so to Mountain Bayou to help shoot these interviews for Black History Month. And I was like, slay, like, whatever. Tell me where to go. Tell me where to point the camera and I'll do it. You know, I don't think I really need that much direction in that regard. Like, I feel like I can just go to a place and then set up and then just, like, do what it do, which is why I'm so good at my job. Anyway, and so, you know, I didn't really ask, like, hey, what are we going to be doing up there? All I knew is that we were going to Mountain Bayou, Mississippi, which is in the Delta. I'd never really been there before. And that we were shooting stuff for Black History Month. What I did not know was that we were going to, I forget the name of it. It's the Civil Rights Museum. There is a Civil Rights Museum, or maybe a Black History Museum in Mountain Bayou, which it has a lot of stuff, like it's not super big. It's like a couple of rooms, but it has a lot of stuff from, you know, various points in Black history, like chains from slavery and, you know, I actually can't really quite remember what was in there because of what I'm about to talk about, but I do remember that they had this guitar that was made out of this piece of wood that was, like, really cool from, like, a prominent blues musician who I, of course, have never heard of, but it's there, and that was cool. That is what I do remember. But also there is something about civil rights museums that set off my fight or flight, because I also went to a lot of them when I was really young, given that, you know, I grew up in Selma, Alabama, and there kind of was no escaping it. I went to ones in Birmingham, Mobile, Montgomery, and then obviously the one across the bridge in Selma. And obviously we just talked about it a lot because you can't really live in Selma without talking about the thing that happened in Selma. Like, the thing that Selma is known for. You can't really live there and not know about it, you know? But, it's kind of crazy because this even happens with just black and white pictures. Not all black and white pictures specifically from, like, the 50s and the 60s. Like, that sets off my fight or flight because primarily the time that I was looking at black and white photos from the 50s and the 60s is when we were talking about black people being brutalized. So, like, yeah, my fight or flight is gonna be going off a little bit when I see people in horn-rimmed glasses. I'm like, what else is about to pop up, you know? So it's like, I'm just going through all my traumas on this episode. I have other things to talk about. We're an hour in. This is crazy, but you know, we move. This isn't even on the list. This is the crazy part, but obviously I just needed to talk about it, so I'm going to talk about it. But we get to this little museum, and I come to find out, and I didn't know this, but apparently Mound Bayou is a place that, you know, Emmett Till was killed. And so they have a whole setup, which honestly, it was really cool, but given the subject matter, I couldn't really appreciate the coolness. So there were one theatrical movie, and I think one episode of like a history miniseries specifically about Emmett Till. One is the Till movie, and they had a whole room set aside in conjunction with whatever production company produced the movie, or whatever studio produced the movie, with a bunch of like props and stuff in the movie, and like, yeah, that's cool. But given the subject matter, I couldn't really focus on it. And we were doing, you know, long form interviews with the people who run the museum. So obviously I had to be there for a while. But, you know, I walk in and I look around and I realize where I am and, you know, what's in here. And, you know, my coworker's like, oh, they have a replica of the casket. Do you want to go see it? And I'm like, no, I don't want to see that. Why would I want to see that? And I couldn't really explain it at the time because I was kind of caught off guard by it all. And we also had interns with us, so it was like, this is not a crash outable location, like I gotta hold it together. So I kind of excused myself outside to be like, I need to get equipment actually. So I go outside and I try my best to pull it together, and to my credit, I do pull it together. So it's like, you know, it was really tough. You know, we ended up shooting the interview. It looked great because, again, I'm good at my job. I don't know how many times I can say that. But, you know, just being surrounded. And obviously the picture wasn't in that specific room, but it's like, you know, just the memories are coming back. And it's like, this is a lot. And we spent like a few hours there, or maybe like a couple hours, maybe like an hour and a half. Maybe it wasn't that long. It felt like a really long time that we were there. And, you know, we get back and I don't end up talking about it to my coworker or really anyone at work. I think I did at some point down the line, like maybe over a year removed from that. But anyway, and again, I remember that night I just could not sleep. I couldn't sleep. And, you know, being that I am an adult and I live alone, it's not like I can just, you know, go to my parents' room and be like, hey, I'm scared. So it's like for a week, I could not sleep. Just like straight up. I could barely sleep. Like I could not sleep without, you know, some kind of background noise. And thankfully, my parents still pay for cable. So I was able, after a while, I figured out I could watch live TV just on my tablet, put that on my nightstand, and have it on. And that is literally how I've been sleeping for 2.5 years. Yeah. I will say it has gotten better. It took a very long time for it to get better. I can sort of, it's been so long now, like I do rely on it. Like I do need the TV to go to sleep. It's so crazy how this kind of came back around, because when I was a kid, I needed the TV to sleep. And then I get older, I don't have a TV in my room anymore, and I'm like, I need complete silence and darkness to sleep, otherwise I can't sleep. And here I am, an adult, you know, we're just back around in the circle, and I need the TV to sleep again, and it's because of that. So this is a trauma dump episode. This truly is a trauma dump episode. And that's just how it's going to have to be, you know? I promise I do have a therapist, and I do actually tell my therapist things, but sometimes I need to talk about them more than once. And I have told my therapist about literally everything that I've said so far in this episode. So, yeah. And you know, I was given coping strategies. I just never used them. I should probably start doing that. I should probably start doing that. What an idea. What a concept. Maybe I should use coping strategies my therapist gave me. Anyway, that is why I feel like the months of August and September are kind of evil. They're my evil months. Yeah. There was so much else that I wanted to talk. I'm still going to talk about it, but good lord. Yeah. I will say, all that aside, despite the fact that I just trauma dumped for an hour. Whoops. I would say I am feeling mostly better about that whole situation. I don't even know which situation I'm referring to. I guess all of the situations. However, I am somewhat emotionally on guard, just in case anything evil happens to me in August or September. Maybe I won't take it as hard, because I know that these are my evil months, and the enemy is trying to succeed against me. And by the enemy, I mean whoever African parents mean when they say the enemy, which is probably Satan, which I don't really believe in that guy. So it's like, I don't know. Maybe we all just need a scapegoat to blame for bad things happening to us. And that is where religion is somewhat useful in that regard. But given that I lack that, what do I blame my bad things on? Vibes, I guess. I blame them on the months being evil instead of the enemy. Oh, man. Do y'all mind if I get a little vulnerable on the pod? Because I've already done it. Now I'm done. So, before we get into the things that I actually wanted to get into, this will be the last time. Actually, hold on. Let me check. Yeah. This is supposed to come out on the 5th. You have 3 days. This will be the last time I ever, unless it like auto renews. But even then, I might end up canceling it, because if I am being honest with you all, and I'm looking at my back end like literally right now, because I have the tab like pinned, I've made nothing off of my eargasm code. Did I expect to make anything? I don't know. Like I said a year ago, I kind of did this just to see if I could. And I mean, I got the code. I just did not make anything off of it. So yeah, but either way, as I am obligated to do by the eargasm which I mean, I'm not that obligated. Truly not obligated, but I've been doing it because why not? Protect your ears. Use my code JX10. You got literally 3 days to do this, to use my code JX10. What are you even focusing on? Hello? Is it the words? No. Genuine? Okay, there you go. Use my code JX10. Get 10% off on eargasm.com. Even when my code expires, if it does expire and it doesn't auto-renew, you probably still should get some earplugs. And I do genuinely recommend this brand, even though they have given me a code. They are pretty expensive. They are very nearly $50, but they are an investment. This is the only pair that I have owned, like, ever. I've been using this since 2021 or 2. Maybe 2020. I genuinely can't remember when I bought these. It was either 2021 or 2022. I'm thinking it's 2022. I've been using these since 2022. Since my evil months began, I've been using these earplugs. They still work. They still do what I need them to do. I just need to keep them clean maybe more often than I am. But if you want to be able to stand very close to a speaker and be pretty much unaffected, get some eargasm earplugs. Use my code or don't. It truly makes no difference. Just have some hearing protection. Like, that is really important. If you want to be able to be the old head at the show, all right? If you want to be able to see all the new generations of heavy music lovers come about, and then also actively beef with them, I guess. I don't really know what's going on there. Get you some eargasm earplugs. You won't regret it. Unless you're the type of person who just really loves losing things, then maybe you will. But it has a key ring. Unless you also just like love losing your keys too, which I can't help you with that. I mean, that's between you and God. um yeah, that is the last time you'll hear me, maybe, if it doesn't auto renew. But also, again, if it does auto renew, I think I'm just gonna end it anyways, because it wasn't doing a whole lot for me, and it probably wasn't doing a whole lot for you guys in the company either. So there you go. I'll look behind the curtain. Yeah. So on a lighter, happier note, we front load the episode with suffering and sadness, and we back end it with hopefully joy and happiness. I went to the Choctaw Indian Fair, not last week. This is 2 weeks ago. In fact, this was the Saturday that I recorded the last episode. I went to the Choctaw Indian Fair. God. It was a lot of fun. I did like it. The last time that I went previously to that was for work, and I'm not going to harp on it, but we did so much there, used none of the footage. Not an iota of the footage. We went there for naught. It was for nothing. But we went, got some fry bread. That was really cool. Love fry bread. Saw some stickball. That was cool because when I was there for work, I didn't see any stickball. It's really interesting if you don't know what Choctaw stickball is, which I, at one point in time, knew the Choctaw word for stickball. I have since forgotten it. Let me see. Choctaw word for stickball. What is it? Ishtaboli? Is that it? Hold on. Ishtaboli. I feel like I'm saying that way wrong. Huh. Kabocha Toli, that's what it is. Oh, that's Oklahoma. I am wondering, does the Choctaw language like differ between Oklahoma and Mississippi? Because, yeah. I am wondering, because, there were the Choctaw who were forced to go to Oklahoma, and then there are the ones who stayed in Mississippi. And it's been a little while between then and now, so it's like, language evolves over time, so now I am wondering if there is a difference between Oklahoma and Mississippi Choctaw, or Choctaw, as I learned some years ago. But yeah, it's Kabocha Toli. Interesting. Or the name of the ball is Kabocha Towa. That's the name of the actual physical ball. But anyways, it is, to make a rough comparison, it's kind of like lacrosse. I've never watched lacrosse before, so I don't know how accurate that is, but it's kind of like lacrosse. Instead of having one kind of long stick, there's 2 shorter sticks. Everyone is barefoot, full contact. People are getting absolutely throttled on the field. And also there's like 60 people on the field at once, 30 for each team. So it is really intense, very high octane. It was a lot of fun to watch, actually. Even though we watched it for only a little bit of time. But we went during the last day of the festival, which it was, that whole week. We went on Saturday. It was the last day. And one of the big performers that they got was none other than Mr. Busta Rhymes. Could I name a Busta Rhymes song? No, I can't. But I did kind of want to see him just to be able to say I did. But, so the whole thing is, he was supposed to grace the main stage at 8:30 that night. We get there at like 9:45 to the actual stage to like sit down. He is not there. He does not get there until 10:20. That is when the show actually starts. And the reason for that is that his plane like got delayed by a really long time. He's flying out of New York. He finally made it to Birmingham and was able to find a I guess, a private jet from Birmingham to Choctaw, Mississippi, which is where the festival is held on reservation land. Um, and we only stayed for like a couple songs because by that time it was late. We had to drive all the way, from Jackson to there. That was what, like an hour and a half, something like that. It's up by Philadelphia, Mississippi, if you know where that is. With the big casino with the ball on the top. That's where it is. Well, it's not at the casino, but it's close to it. So we had to drive back. So we had to miss all of Mr. Rhymes' set. Unfortunately, it was kind of fun. He had this like intro video from Chris Rock that I could not tell if it was AI or not, because it was just, I don't know. It looked a little weird. I couldn't tell if it was AI or not. I truly couldn't. But yeah, honestly, the visuals are kind of on point. I did like his visuals. They were fun. But I don't know. Would I want to have the full Busta Rhymes experience? I don't know. For whatever reason, I just kept confusing him with not Dougie Fresh. Who made Let Me Clear My Throat? Hold on, Let Me Clear. DJ Cool. Who is that? That's not it. I hope you don't mind. Let me clear my throat. That was Dougie Fresh. Okay. I don't know why, but I was confusing him with Dougie Fresh. Who did that one song, Look at Me Now, with Chris Brown, that had the thing that everyone was going wild at? Look at Me Now. That is Busta Rhymes. Oh, that is Busta Rhymes. Really? Oh. So I do know a Busta Rhymes song, although that is a feature. Huh. Okay. I'm conflating Dougie Fresh and Busta Rhymes. Do I know any other Busta Rhymes songs? Because I didn't know any that he was performing. Let me see. Put your hands where I don't know. What is the hello? Make it clap. Break your neck? Do I know that one? I don't know. Huh. He had a song in Space Jam? I mean, that tracks. Yeah, no, I truly can't. Well, Let's Break Your Neck. This sounds familiar. It's from 20... I want to play it, but it's gonna... Yeah, I don't know. Okay, so I do know a Busta Rhymes feature, and that's that Look at Me Now by Chris Brown. So, yeah. Is that it? Okay. I saw someone doing a cover of the song, and it looks like they have a Korg mini log, but I can't tell. It's a Korg keyboard of some sort, and I was like, oh, a synthesizer. But yeah, honestly, that was fun. However, so they had a few different like things. Obviously, it was like a regular festival where they had like carnival type stuff, and like I'm not really into like fair rides, so like we weren't really over there. They had a craft pavilion, which, given that it was the last day and it was the final hours of the last day, it kind of wasn't a whole lot in there. I really did want to see if I could find some like cute earrings or something like that, but alas, the stock was low because it was the last day. The final hour was the last day. They also had a cultural pavilion, which was inside, and it was one of the only places that had like good AC because it was real hot too. It was hot. I mean, it's just been hot. Hello, it's July and we're in Mississippi. Like, yeah, it's gonna be hot. But we went in there, and I mean, I've seen the inside of this before, so I know how it's gonna look. But there are other, I guess, tribes within the Mississippi Band of Choctaw Indians for like different locales. And so, they had like a little setup showing different aspects about I don't know what they're called. It's not a sub-tribe, but, the different communities within the tribe. I'm pretty sure they're called communities. I think they are. And so, I was looking at them, and obviously I'm not Choctaw, I'm not indigenous at all, but I am black and I am descended from American chattel slavery, and I think my what do you call it? Ancestry was also adversely affected by, European colonialism. So I feel like I can speak on this just a teeny weeny bit, just a little, just a small amount. But in there, we saw, they had this whole section dedicated to like army veterans, various Choctaw army veterans that they had in different branches of the military. I don't know why I said army, but military veterans. And also in each community display, there was something about like faith, and it was, the Christian faith. So it's like, it was really interesting to see this subset of people that are still, very heavily affected by just European colonialism still to this day. But also kind of, and also, I guess American specifically colonialism, or there's a word for this, imperialism, the whole manifest destiny of it all, still very affected by that. In that, I was looking on Google Maps one day, and if you go out to like certain points of, what do you call it? I want to say like Nevada. Yeah. And you like zoom in on the, well, hold on, eastern part of like the Navajo Nation, you see all these like square parcels where some of it is like reservation land and some of it isn't. And it's been a while since I learned about all of this, but basically all of the Native American lands in like all the United States have been slowly getting chipped away. And obviously it's a little bit bigger out west. There's a little bit more going on out west. There's not that much, in like Mississippi. Like if you zoom in, you can see there's like a couple of them, and they're very small, and it's like, and I understand why this happens, I understand why someone who is part of a, marginalized community in the United States would join the military. And, I know the statistics about, the socioeconomic status of a lot of people living on reservations and stuff like that. And like it was for, my hometown growing up, the way that it was sold to us when we were in school is that, oh, if you join the military, you'll pay for school, you'll get to buy a car, and you'll have a house. And it's like, I feel like I should be able to have all of that stuff without dying for Israel, but I don't know, man. When you're poor and you live in a, in a poor community, it's like, yeah, it's either that or nothing. So it's like, I could see how there would be, a large number of Native Americans in the military. And I know it's like, in some cases, like played up as like this good thing. And it's like, yeah, okay, Navajo code talkers, they did do some stuff for us. But also at the same time, like this is the same military, the same military for the same company that was forcing you out of your homelands and, doing a genocide. So it's like, I would really like to talk to an indigenous person who maybe was either in the military or was just in that community, to talk about like maybe there is a little bit of cognitive dissonance there to where it's like, maybe you feel like you do have to join the military just to be able to pay for school or just to be able to afford life. And it's like, how does that feel? I don't want to speak for anyone, but I saw that and I was like, man, that is really interesting. And it's another thing with, the whole Christianity of it all. Because like I said, this is one of my hotep opinions, but I do believe Christianity is a colonizer religion. And I feel like the people who could probably identify that the most would be Native Americans, because, the whole kill the Indian to save the man, being put in these religious institutions to basically, strip all of your identity from you in order to save you, but really to subjugate you. It's like, and there are a not insignificant amount of Native Americans who are Christian. So it's like, how do you reconcile that? How do you reconcile participating in something that was used to oppress you? And again, I would really love to hear from a Native American person about that. I feel like I would be more interested in indigenous religion than I would about, whatever Protestant stuff they got going on, or what's the intersection? Is there any intersection with that? So it's like, I don't know. All of that struck me as really interesting. And things I would like to, know more about from a person in that community. So yeah, that's your Choctaw Indian Fair. I guess I gotta let me see. That's number 1. This is number 2. I saw the Odyssey. I saw the Odyssey in theaters. It was really good. It was so loud. It was the loudest movie I have ever seen in my life. Like, I left that movie theater, my head was hurting. My ears were hurting. Like, and it was so crazy too, because the day that I went to see that, which was that Sunday, I was planning on going to a show afterwards because I knew the movie was going to be long. I didn't know how long the previews or whatever were going to be. I saw it at 3:35 that Sunday. There was a show at 7:30 that I wanted to go to. So I did have my earplugs with me because I thought I would have to go straight from the theater, from Melco to the venue, to the place. Ended up, first of all, I didn't go to the show. But I ended up, there was more time in between, but I still had my earplugs. I should have worn them because, oh my God. So the really funny thing too was I was low-key nodding off, right up until they got to the Cyclops cave. And the reason I stopped nodding off is because, and I guess spoilers for this this millennia old story. But when they started attacking the Cyclops, it started screaming and it's so loud. I was jolted awake. There was no dozing off after that. It was so loud. That part was so loud, and the other part that was unbearably loud was when the last of Odysseus's men die in the storm. It was so loud. Visually, that was peak. Auditorially, orally, Aurally, hold on, orally, it was too much. It was too much. I had to cover my ears because I'm like, what the heck? This hurts. And the crazy thing is okay, maybe I do want to see it again. I'm not seeing it again in IMAX. Well, I mean, I guess I could just wear my earplugs. And I feel the dialogue was kind of low. At some points it was kind of low, but this is the loudest movie of 2026 for sure. I don't know how else to explain it. It's just loud. And then of course, if I do see it in standard format, it's going to be cropped. But something that I realized that, it's just shot in 70mm IMAX. I look up the aspect ratio for that. It's not quite 1:1. It's 1 to 1.4 something. Which is almost square, but not quite. And then I remember I went and saw The Lighthouse in theaters, and that is pretty much square aspect ratio. It is different, but it is very close and almost square. And what I remember is that they brought the curtains in a little bit, and they just let the movie be square. So it's if you don't see it in IMAX, it's going to be cropped. And it's why? Why is it going to be cropped? Why couldn't they just have it be square? If you can have The Lighthouse be square in standard theaters, why can't the Odyssey be square? Why am I losing feet off the screen just so they'll fit standard screens. And now I'm wondering, when it goes to streaming, is it gonna be cropped? Like, why can't it be square? It truly, what? Why not have it be square? I don't get it. I don't get that part. Because I saw the comparisons, and it's, whoa. I saw the comparisons, and it's like, why does this have to happen at all? Like, obviously, it's gonna be smaller, because, like, yeah, it's not a big IMAX screen, but, like, why can't it be square? Just let it be square. Truly, you know? So, I don't know, man. That's weird. Either way, I did really like it. I did not read the Odyssey at any point in my education. I did read, well, I was supposed to read the Iliad when I think I was a freshman in college. Or maybe we just like kind of studied it. I don't think I ever read the thing all the way through. I do remember when we were learning about different world religions, maybe. I actually don't know at what point this came up, but, or maybe ancient history. We learned about, don't think we learned about the Iliad. We just learned about ancient Greece when I was in the 8th grade. And for whatever reason, we watched the movie Troy with, the 2004 movie with Brad Pitt, which is, what is the rating on this? It's rated R. Whoa. Actually, now that I think about it, I think we had to sign a permission slip to watch this, because it was rated R, because there are a couple of sex scenes in this movie, and I remember watching it, and my teacher just had to fast forward through them. Yeah. Yep. Why the heck were we shown the movie Troy when I was in the 8th grade? That was kind of crazy. But yeah, that was from the Iliad. So no, I never ended up reading the Odyssey. Obviously, I'm aware of things from it because of how ingrained it is in, the Western literary canon. So, like, yeah, I'm familiar with the Trojan horse story and all of that. And, I know what a Cyclops is. And I do know that Cersei turned people into pigs, which, by the way, when this was announced, I do remember it was Rosamund Pike who was supposed to be Cersei. And I was so excited because I was like, Rosamund Pike turning people into pigs? Count me in. I don't think I was sitting right here, but I was sitting in front of this microphone being like, Rosamund Pike is going to turn people into pigs. Imagine my surprise when it is not Rosamund Pike turning people into pigs, it's somebody else. And honestly, that sequence was pretty crazy too. But yeah, something that did stick out to me, which I think this is just a feature of ancient literature. So I don't think, I think you can find this in a lot of different ancient literature, but the whole concept of hubris, something that stuck out to me when I was learning the Old Testament for the first time in college was that there were so many instances where, God's chosen people, the Israelites, they have favor with God. They are God's chosen people, his favorites, right? And God tells them, like, hey, don't do this one specific thing. And what do you think they do? They do that one specific thing, and then they're cursed for like 40 years, okay? I think the whole reason why they were wandering in the desert for 40 years instead of just going to wherever they were going, Canaan, I guess, was because, was it the golden calf? Is that why they were wandering for 40 friggin' years? Hold on. According to the Torah, the Bible, and the Quran, the golden calf, or in the Quranic account, the calf was a cult image made by the Israelites when Moses went up to Mount Sinai. In Hebrew, the incident is known as the son of the calf. It is first mentioned in the book of Exodus. I can't remember the outcome of this, but I think... Okay, I'm not reading all... This is really long. But, yeah. God tells them, like, hey, don't do this thing. They do it anyway. They face consequences. And it happens over and over and over again. And I'm like, what the heck is going on? Like, why are the Israelites so hard-headed? Like, why can't they just listen? Obviously this is a literary device used for one purpose or another. But this happens in the Odyssey as well. They're like, hey, like, we need to do a specific thing so that we can get home, because we've been just gallivanting for 20 years. Everybody else went home. Like, we're just out here. We're just outside for 20 years, And it's like, there were so many things that they didn't have to go in the Cyclops cave. That was entirely avoidable. They didn't have to go up in there, and it's so crazy. They get there, and the Cyclops is there, and then they just start whacking on him, and it's like, what the heck, man? All you had to do was not go in the cave, and now people are dead. Congratulations, Odysseus. And apparently it's even more audacious in the poem, because apparently when they finally do make it out, Odysseus, well, at first, the Cyclops asks him, like, who are you? And Odysseus is like, I'm nobody, And so once they finally do make it out, Odysseus is like, actually, my name is Odysseus, and you suck. And so the Cyclops, whose dad is Poseidon, like, okay, who is the mom? Who is the mama? But anyways, his dad is Poseidon. The Cyclops obviously tells his dad, like, hey, there's this guy, his name is Odysseus, he broke into my house, started eating my cheese, and then he freaking stabbed me in the eye. So, like, what did you think was gonna happen? It would have been so easy to avoid that, but they don't. And then the thing with Helios' cows, all they had to do was not eat the cows. And then they ate the cows. And then they all died. So it's like, we told you exactly how to avoid this. And yet you did it anyways. Could you be surprised? I don't know. But yeah, like I said, I think that's just a feature of ancient literature. Like, that's just, like, a thing. So, yeah. Either way, would I see it again? I would say not in IMAX, but if I don't see it in IMAX, then it's going to be cropped. So maybe when it comes out on streaming, I will watch it again at a reasonable volume. Because it was crazy. The way my head was literally hurting because of how loud it was. Like, Goodness gracious. Is my pen going out? Yeah, maybe a little bit. So I went to some shows lately. Here are the shows that I went. Okay, it was one show. I was gonna go to more than one, but I didn't. So on the 26th, there goes Tokyo, Dreams Like Color, and Tira Lira as at Animal Music. I went because I wanted to see There Goes Tokyo, because they had performed a couple of times, quite a few times. And I had not seen them yet, and honestly, they were really cool, really good. They were, if I were to describe them, they're like okay, I'm really bad at describing. Not synth pop, but like synth rock type thing. Synth alt rock. And it was really good and fun, and I did really like it. There was some fun instrumentation going on. And I found it enjoyable. And then Tira Lira was the touring, I was going to say visiting band. They're the touring band. They're from Florida. Where in Florida? I forgot. Hold on. I'm going to look it up. I want to be correct. That is the name of a book. Never mind. Hold on. Pensacola, Florida. And they were also really good. They had a saxophonist. I love incorporating brass into my little guitar bands. It's really great. And it's very enjoyable. And I was trying to think back on some other bands that I'd seen that done this, and I think the main one that I've seen, and they also had a saxophonist, was Cheap City. However, I felt like personally that their saxophone was a little bit underutilized. But Tira Lira, they utilized that saxophone, and it was great. It was great. It wasn't ska. I know it's like, oh, brass? But no, it wasn't ska. Which, I mean, ska is more trumpets, or full brass section versus just saxophone. Also, ska is so, like, joyful. I've talked about this before. When I saw those ska bands at Furnace Fest, I was like, ska is so joyful. I feel like more people, the children should be making ska, and they're not. We need to change that. Of course, that could be the change, but I didn't do band in high school, so you're just sorry, you know? But yeah, they put on a really great show. It was so much fun. It was a little bit hot in that record stove. Thankfully, it was inside, because if it was outside, I think we would have all died, because it was real hot. It was real hot. But, so much fun. It was such a fun show. I took some great pictures there too. And then to round out the night was Dreams Without Color. They had a couple new songs that they premiered. And yeah, I will say, dang, I forgot what I was going to say. Crazy how that works. But either way, it was a very fun show. There was another show this week that I kind of did want to go to. It's Fall 50 Feet, Inside the Hollow, Moral Lot, and Wretched. It was at the Unitarian Universalist Church, and it was like, there were 2 days in a row there where the high was going to be 100, and that just happened to be Monday and Tuesday, and that show was on Tuesday. And listen, I love the UU Church. I love that we have a new place to put on shows. I don't like the fact that it is unair conditioned. It's been really hot, and I just know it was really hot there. And, you know, maybe when it starts to cool down, which is going to take a really long time for that to happen, maybe when or if that happens, like, yeah, give me a UU Church show in October or late September. Yeah, I'll be there. But, it's too hot, it's too humid, and I have enjoyed the shows that I've been at there, you know, but good Lord, it's hot. And then there was a noise show yesterday, and I just honestly regret that I didn't go. It's like, why do I keep doing this to myself? There are shows that I want to go to, and then I don't go to them. But it's That Which Waits Beyond Sleep, Needle and Thread, Bad Comrade, and Julelope. That was yesterday at Urban Foxes. I saw the pictures, I saw the videos. I know it was fun, but I wasn't there. So, why? You know, but I am recording this today on Saturday because tomorrow is Gravehuffer, Plague with Burner. What? God. Plague Burner, Die with Nature. I just completely combined those two names. And Pyralis at CS's. And also that says it starts at 8. That's late, I'm not gonna lie. I do still want to go. But 8 p.m. 8 is late. What can I say? So, hold on. I saw something. Maybe it was nothing. Okay, no. So, I suppose we can talk about the upcoming shows. There have been a few more, that have been announced since last episode. And I can't remember if I talked about this on the last episode. When was this announced? July 20th. Okay, so wait, hold on. When did I? Okay, no. I did not talk about this because this was announced July 20th. All right. Well, I'll just go through the list. So upcoming, we have on the 7th, Silver Saints, The War Horse, Damage Control. That's at Urban Foxes. That's at 7 o'clock. And then next Saturday, we have 2 shows. We have, hold on, Delusur. I don't know how to say that. Delusur. Areola Belt, Elevator Pitch, and Hush Puppy at the UU Church. Maybe it'll cool down by next week. My hopes are not high. And then we have AWFM, that's a weirdo from Memphis. Pro, Horse Funeral, Wretched, and Roxy. That is at CS's, and that's at 7 o'clock. That's also on the 8th. And then, the week of the 10th, there's not a lot going on. Or the 9th, I guess, it's Sunday. But on the 15th, we got Eyes Like Yours, Outside Dog, and Victory Dog at Urban Foxes. That's at 6. And then, that next Monday, the 17th, we got Pissant. We got Pissant, Wretched, and Muzzle Flash. That's at the UU Church. That's at 6:30. And then we got 2 big shows on the 22nd. One I will talk about in a little bit. And another one has been sold out it's sold out the first day. But it's the Color Revolt and Smokey show. That's at Dueling Hall. And I was kind of waiting because I thought there was going to be more announced today. Like, it was supposed to be announced today. So I don't know if it'll be announced today. I mean, it's 9:00 at night. The day isn't over, but, hold on. Let me do this. Will this yield me results? No. Okay, that's a different location. No. All right. Well, never mind. So, Birmingham, Alabama's preeminent straight edge band, No Cure, is coming to Jacktown with Bayway, which this will be Bayway's second time here. Plus local support to be announced allegedly today, but it's literally almost 10:00, so I don't know when that's happening. I don't know. I mean, not in time for me to say this on the pod, but I feel like by the time this has come out, then we'll know who is doing support. But that's gonna be at Hall & Mal's. That's gonna be at 6:00. I am pretty excited. I did see No Cure at Gidmiss. And also I was looking back and I forgot so much of Gidmiss for some reason. We weren't there the whole time, but like there were bands there that I forgot were even there. Hold on. It's like if I look at the lineup for that, there's stuff that I completely forgot about. Obviously Gideon was there, which I can't remember at what point they went on. I don't know. Obviously, I remember Bayway because I remember the Bay Wabies. We weren't there for that whole. I think we came just when they had come on. Apparently, I also forgot the Callous Cowboys were there. Here I am thinking I've never seen the Callous Cowboys before. Oh, this will be fun. I just don't think I was in the room when they were playing. No Cure was there, and I remember that because I was standing right next to, I guess, a subwoofer and having my throat vibrated the entire time, and it was kind of not great. But I also, for whatever reason, felt like I couldn't find a better place to stand. I think I saw Cold Hard Steel. I don't remember. I mean, it's not like I was doing substances. There's no reason for me to not remember. I just don't. I just truly don't. I kind of remember E-Town Concrete because that is, the band that the person I was going with was going for. So I don't think I saw Silent Planet at all. Did not see Slant Plant because I think we left after E-Town Concrete. And I think I remember seeing Gideon, but I don't think so. No, I'm totally conflating two different things because aside from when they came to town, I'm thinking of going to Furnace Fest and getting there right when Gideon was playing, but that was also not long after I saw them here in Jackson, and I was kind of whatever on it. So definitely didn't see Gideon that night. Definitely didn't see Silent Planet. No Slant Plant. Did see E-Town Concrete. I don't know if I remember Recon. I think I remember hearing the Callous Cowboys outside or outside of the room when they were playing. Remember No Cure. I remember Bayway. I don't know about these other bands. Did I see Delta? I think I did see Delta Hate, but I can't remember. Also, something that I found out that I didn't know before. I knew there were a number of Alabama bands that were playing Ginmis, but Delta Hate is literally from Montgomery. That's like the closest that I'm gonna get to a band being from my hometown, which is crazy because Montgomery is 50 miles away from Selma, but I'm claiming them. I'm claiming Delta Hate. They're mine. They're mine, and you can't have them. They're my hometown band. They're not from my hometown. They're from quite a little bit down the road, but I think that's as close as I'm gonna get. They are a 334 band, and I'm gonna claim them because I still got that area code. Could I name a single song by them? No, I can't. Sure can't. Doesn't matter. They're mine. They're mine, and I'm claiming them. And I can't remember if I saw them. Truly can't. But yeah, that was a fun night. That was a really fun night. You know, that was great. That was truly great. Anywho, what was I talking about? Oh, No Cure and Bayway. They're coming. They're on the way. And I had a feeling No Cure was going to get here eventually. I feel like, first of all, they're from Birmingham. So it's not, it's not that far. But also they have been touring with a lot of bigger bands. They're touring, or they just finished a tour with Throne, I think in Europe. Maybe something like that. Now they're doing a different tour, and they also, on their latest album that came out recently, how recent I can't remember, but within like the last month, they had a song with a Bayway feature on there. And also, I really did love I loved it, but I can't remember the name of it. Good God. What is the name of that? Here it is. I Hope I Die Here. I listened to that a lot after it came out. I really did love that. I think this is an EP. Are you an EP? Nope, you're an album. I really did love that album. I listened to It's Going to Get Dark. I think I need to listen to it again. It is a little bit longer. It's got more tracks. I mean, it's not necessarily longer, but it does have more tracks. And there are a few different... Okay, that's not that many different features versus I Hope I Die Here is like all features, so, but I did really like it a lot. That came out in 2024. Yeah. So, I'm not done. There's more shows, obvi. The 23rd, we have Slip to Dust, Spider Shed, and Encircled Throne, past tense, at the Unitarian Universalist Church of Jackson. That's at 6 o'clock. That's Sunday, the 23rd. And then on the 28th, we have Stay Lost, Tan and Handsome. I got a text. Tan and Handsome. Eisen, which I think has been here before. Eisen. They've been here like 3 times before. Yeah, they're here January, March, and now they're coming back in August. Which, where's Eisen from? I think they must be regional. Let me see. Where are they from? They're from Tuscaloosa / Birmingham. Okay. Have I seen them before? I don't think so. Because they've been here a couple different times. Hold on, have I seen them before? Bass Jump Charcoal Warriors. Was I at that show? Hold on, in January? I don't think so. I gotta go back into the archive. Which, by the way, looking at my camera roll is the camera roll of joy and happiness, because that's all that's in here. It's just happy, fond memories in my camera roll. What was this? January 2026. January. Okay, no, that's not it, because that's... What day is this? That's January 17th. I'm looking for the 30th. When is this? This is for February. So no, I do not think I was there, because that's from the 17th. And then March 14th, I truly don't think I was there on March 14th, but we're going to find out. I scrolled right past it. March. Oh no, no, okay, that was the 8th. Was I? Okay, no, that's the 13th. And this is the 14th. So, like, no. No, I was not. I don't think I've seen them the previous 2 times that they've come to town. That's interesting. Okay, but either way, stay lost, tan and handsome, Eisen, and wretched. That's the 28th of this month, which is August. And then the 29th, we have I Jam, E.T. Cruiser, and Melted Crayon. That's on the 29th. It's at the end of All Music. And then September, we got Sunny Mondays, As Like Yours, and Goodnight Morning. That's at Urban Foxes. That's at 6. And that's at Urban Foxes. I think I just said that. And then, personally, my most anticipated local show of the next upcoming months are the Calloused Cowboys Kaunashi, Girl of Glass and Wielded Steel at Howlin' Mal's. That's the 22nd. It's a Tuesday at 6. And then on the 26th, we got Girls' Night at Urban Foxes. We got the Akashic 45s, Miscommunication, Dreams Without Color, Charcoal, and Lee Baines. Plus, I want to say some artists. There's like a lot going on that night. And that's Saturday, September 26th. And then, is that it? Oh, we have Forever Fest. That is on the 17th at its location, which is 1417 Layla Drive. It's like off of Lakeland. Or wait, I think this is different from last year, but also no, it's not. I thought it was, but it's not. I'm lying. And then on the 20th, we got Dent May, Sad Bath, and Newscast at Howlin' Mal's. That's Tuesday, October 20th. Is there anything past that? No, I don't have anything past that. But something that I somehow managed to forget. I am going to see My Goats Periphery in Atlanta in November. And somehow I just managed to put that in the back burner of my mind. I don't know how. But then I went and listened to the tour, or the album that this tour's for, which is A Pale White Dot. And I think it's not grown on me. It has not yet grown on me. It has some catchy parts, but I was at the Gymboree today, and I was listening to the Juggernauts, because I have them in one playlist where they just play back to back, as they are meant to be listened to. And that is one of my favorite albums. Of course, I'm considering the Juggernauts collectively here. And I was listening to that, and earlier this week, I listened to A Pale White Dot again, because it's been a while since I listened to it, and I was like, it just hasn't grown on me, it's like, it's got what it's got, and what it's got, I'm not super enthused about, truly. I am still really excited to see them, but it's just kind of, and I have the VIP for that too. So I am still excited. I am still really excited that I am finally going to see Periphery play live once in my life, before either I die or they break up. I hope anything can happen. Fingers crossed that doesn't, but, I'm just waiting for this tour to start, which, I mean, it's going to be a while before that, so I can actually see the, the set list, so I can then, reserve my judgment. But, I mean, it's going to be mostly A Pale White Dot, so, yeah, I mean, kind of is what it is, kind of is what it is, and what it is what it is. I had more. I wanted to, okay, it's only 2 more things, and one of these is like really quick, and the other one I could just save for the next episode because it's not really that timely. But there's been some scene drama, not here, just scene drama in general, because rapper Mario Judah has been we're the same age. Oh wow, I'm actually older by a couple months. Jump scare. 1999 jump scare. um, but yeah, so I remember seeing the post, not this particular post, but seeing the post that Mario Judah was going to be not opening, but playing a show in Atlanta with like a bunch of like hardcore bands. And I saw that on the Metro Atlanta Metal Instagram account. Because, I follow the regional Instagram pages because I like to know what the region is up to, you know? And I saw that and I was like, that's kind of random. And that was back in, I want to say like June, like earlier June. And so, that was like whatever. I saw the videos from it after the fact and I was like, oh, okay, it's like kind of random, but whatever. Kind of the same feeling I got when I saw that Boosie did a feature on a hardcore song. Hold on. Like, I know I didn't make that up. But hold on. Yeah. It's, By Any Means is the band, I think. Hold on. Yeah, By Any Means. They're a Louisiana hardcore band, and they got Boosie to feature on a song, which, by the way, I know you Louisiana people just love Boosie so much. The more I learn about that man, the more I'm like... And listen, I know it's not limited to Louisiana. Any party that I would go to when I was in high school, and yes, I was invited to parties when I was in high school, believe it or not, anytime they played Set It Off, it would get set off. Like, yeah, I get it. But, I don't know. Anyway, all that aside, apparently, I don't know if this was, the first time that Mario Judah has played with a bunch of hardcore bands, but that was the first time that I saw it, right? And at first I thought, this is only happening like in the Southeast because I saw, there's stuff coming from Texas about him, and I think also Florida, I can't remember. But apparently, he was at that show, he showed up to that Atlanta show, but there were a few other shows that had happened where he went to these places, in these hardcore scenes in these towns. And so the whole thing was that for, I think, like 3 of these dates, he was handling the ticketing separately on his website. So people were paying him directly, which his team, whatever, directly, to see him. And apparently he ran off with the money. And there was something like 7,000 in ticket sales. I don't know if that was one date or multiple, but apparently this happened in Texas. This happened in like 3 separate cities, right? 3 separate cities. And then there was a show that he did actually show up for in either Washington State or Oregon, so like Seattle or Denver. I can't remember which one. And then in one of those of the 2, he no-showed again. So it's like, this also happened relatively recently. Like, this Reddit post I'm looking at is from 6 days ago. So I don't know how all that's gonna play out, because, that's a not insignificant amount of money to just, like, skadoodle-doo-doo off with, So it's like, that was kind of crazy. I felt like it was a kind of random happening that I thought was just the Southeast, but it's apparently a few different other places. And I've also learned today that we're the same age. Scary. Scary. This is what the other Gen Zs are up to. The other elder Gen Zs, I guess. Yeah, I mean, there's not a whole lot of update to that, because again, this has happened relatively recently. So I'm not entirely sure what the dealio with that is. Don't play. Is that muted? That didn't mute. That's not even the right button. There's a post from 5 days ago. I guess he released something, and there's like a lot of comments on it. Are there a lot of comments? Yeah, there's like 1,000 comments, which I mean, he has a lot of followers, but a lot of these comments are talking about him being a scammer, basically. So, yeah. Crazy. Rappers are out here, a rapper is out here, scamming hardcore communities. So, that's that. I'm gonna check one last time to see if this local support has been announced, because I want to know. I am not seeing it. Where's it at? Was I lied to? Was I deceived? Did somebody do some fibbing? I don't know. Maybe it'll just be announced like way late at night. Which, I mean, again, it's 10 o'clock now. So yeah. I've been talking for long enough. Goodness gracious. Yeah, we really did front load that with a lot of trauma dumping. But it came back around in the end. So yeah, this has been the 26th episode of the Runnin My Mouth podcast. I've been your host, Erin. Thank you for allowing me to run my mouth. Follow me on Instagram, because if you're not following me on Instagram, you're only getting half the story. Use my code. This is your final chance. This is your final chance to use my code JX10 to get 10% off on eargasm.com. Protect your ears. Get some earplugs. If not for me, then just for you. Because clearly I've gotten nothing out of this. But you need to get something out of this, and that is ear protection. Where's the front? There it is. Ear protection. Do that. Thank you very much. It's later than I thought it was going to be. And I need to go to bed. So, bedtime. Bedtime, and I am bed tired. So, bed is what I shall be doing. Yeah, let me get out of here.